1981 was a big year for low-budget slasher movies. The Funhouse, Happy Birthday to Me, My Bloody Valentine, The Burning, Halloween 2, Friday the 13th Part 2, Corpse Mania. Anyone seen that one? Just me? Anyway, there was also Madman. Although it wouldn't be released wide in U.S. theaters until 1982, Madman was a lesser-known little horror movie from some Staten Island friends that saw their potential path into the movie business following the slasher wave created by Halloween's Michael Myers and Friday the 13th's Jason Voorhees. Will time reveal Madman Marz to be just as popular in the annals of horror history as those two giants? No, of course not. What are you, stupid? Sorry, I didn't have my coffee yet. But if you're looking for a fun but lesser-known horror movie from the slasher's early 80s heyday, then Madman might just fit the bill. This song was concocted by producer and co-writer Gary Sales. At least the lyrics, anyway. The melody mostly came from actor Tony Fish, whose actual surname was Nunziata, but that's kind of hard to say, and he worked in the seafood industry, so... Apparently he came up with this tune the night before the scene was filmed.
In the air,
long, long ago, the fifth wind blew.
There's a Finnish recording artist named Katja Savia, I probably pronounced that wrong, who does an interesting version of it on YouTube. If you want to hear the whole thing, check out the link in the description. Anywho, this editing choice with the flash forwards makes very little sense to me. But what the hell do I know?
Now it's time for my story.
This actor is Frederick Newman, but he's credited as Carl Fredericks. He was a fairly well-known New York actor at the time, at least in actor circles, and was personal friends with Samuel Beckett, supposedly. Apparently he used to fly to Paris to work on projects with the playwright. Might explain why he used a fake name for this. He was born in Sugar Island, Michigan, also known as Canada. The film began life with Joe Giannone and Gary Sales, both film students at Richmond College, now the College of Staten Island. Friday the 13th had made a lot of money in 1980, so they decided that horror was going to be their way into the business, and so they chose the Cropsy legend and went out to raise money to make the film. They found a guy named Sam Marion who had made a chunk of change manufacturing baby carriages, and he put up the whole $350,000 budget. So I mentioned Cropsy. Just who is Cropsy, you ask? Did you ask that? Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. To paraphrase an online source, Cropsy is the creature that lurks at the end of your block. It's the shadowy figure that prowls at the edge of the playground. Cropsy is Staten Island's personal boogeyman. In 2009, there was a documentary called Cropsy. It outlines the origins of the killer with a hook for a hand that terrorized young neighborhood kids and supposedly dragged them into the crumbling ruins of Staten Island's abandoned Seaview Hospital. Seaview was built for TB patients in 1905 and then abandoned somewhere around the 1960s. Parents used the tale to spook their little ones at night. Go to bed or Cropsy will get you. But as the doc points out, Cropsy turned frighteningly real in the 1970s when a local drifter named Andre Rand allegedly began attacking the children of Staten Island. I've got a new series of videos coming out soon that will tell the stories of the intersections between real-life crimes and horror movies. In one of them, I'll cover the story of Andre Rand. Stay tuned for that. During the casting process, some of the actors coming in to read mentioned that they had auditioned for a movie with a very similar sounding plot, which had already begun production in Buffalo, New York. The filmmakers freaked out and discovered, sure enough, that another movie based on the Cropsy legend was underway with a bigger budget upstate. They got nervous that their investor might pull out, so the two of them went to the old Curtain Up restaurant in New York and they worked out major changes to the script to differ their story from the original Cropsy legend. They even had to purchase the tablecloth from the restaurant because they had written all of their ideas for changes on it. The other movie was The Burning, co-written and produced by a hungry young filmmaker named Harvey Weinstein. I haven't really followed his career after that, but it seemed like he had a bright future. Anyway, we'll be covering that one in another video for sure. Stay tuned.
Come on, Max, give me a hand. Let's get this axe out of here.
This actor is Michael Sullivan as Dippy the Drunk. He was a prop maker who worked on Little Shop of Horrors and Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, at least according to IMDb, as well as animating a notorious little stop-motion adult film called Meaning of Robots. The description on IMDb is, Mike Sullivan has been shooting a stop-motion robot sex film in his apartment for the last 10 years. Now his miniature robot stars are threatening to squeeze him out of the space he needs to shoot his epic. Huh. Okay. I can't really show you any of it here because this is a family-friendly channel, let's say. But you can find it online. But you shouldn't. But you probably will. Who am I kidding? Of course you will. You're going to look it up, you bunch of perverts. Anyway. He gets his ass handed to him by actor Paul Ehlers, starring as Madman Marz. His job at the time he was cast was as an illustrator. Sales and Giannone met with him to discuss designing the poster. They were struggling to find someone to play Madman Marz. It turned out that Ehlers was a film buff and a horror lover. He loved to draw monsters and make comic books when he was a kid. He was also a martial artist, according to him, so he was explaining to the filmmaking duo how he thought that Madman should move. And they said, wait a minute, you're tall, you're imposing, why don't you play the role? So he went from poster illustrator to playing the half-man, half-monster character. Apparently he took the role so seriously that in between setups, he would go to his room at the Fish Cove Inn and play the theme from Halloween on repeat, trying to get himself into the mindset of a rabid killer. Here we have Galen Ross, who is listed as Alex Dubin in the credits, but whose real name is Gail Sue Rosenblum. Why does nobody use their real name in this movie? Anyway, she plays Betsy. Galen Ross only acted in 3 movies. She was the female lead in George Romero's Dawn of the Dead in 1978. She played Becky Vickers in Romero's Creepshow in 1982.
It's showtime!
Becky?
And in between, she did this. She did stay in the film business, though, only on the other side of the camera. She became a documentary filmmaker. In an interview, she said, "The truth is, I was doing Creepshow, and when Ted Danson and I are killed, and Leslie Nielsen is the protagonist. So there I am on the New Jersey shore, up to my neck in sand, literally, and a wave machine is throwing water on me every few minutes, while they do all these crazy takes because Nielsen in the movie is trying to drown me. Meanwhile, George Romero is sitting cross-legged not far from me to make sure I don't die. And he's sitting there in a parka, dry as a bone, on the Jersey shore. And I looked at him and I thought, you know what? It's a whole lot better on the other side of the camera. So when George said cut, I said, I think this is really a wrap for me on my acting career. So that's when it all started. I have a feeling that this cheesy hot tub love scene also may have played a bit of a contributing factor. What the hell are they doing? This is so bizarre. There's way better hot tub scenes in many other horror movies. Should I do a best horror movie hot tub scenes video? No, that's ridiculous. Maybe. I'll do it. Let's move on.
I love to feel the flames devour the wood. Who says there's no beauty in destruction?
I don't think there's beauty in any kind of destruction.
What the hell is with these people? They originally planned to shoot the movie in the Catskills Mountains, where Gary Sales went to summer camp when he was a kid and supposedly first heard about the legend of Cropsy. But by the time they got the script and the money together, it was too cold to shoot there, so they found a campground run by a hippie family called the Fish Cove Inn in Southampton, Long Island. It had a main house and cabins which they could use to shoot in and put up the cast and crew. And it was close enough to send the dailies into New York City to be developed every day. The iconic song at the end of the movie was written by Gary Sales.
He's real.
Lore of the campfire, telling of his horror.
Everyone says that they dig the campfire sound of the song. This was kind of a trend back around that time to end your horror movie with a folk song laying out the backstory, the lore, or the events of the film. I think maybe it stemmed from the Last House on the Left soundtrack.
Wheels turning.
Which was sung by actor David Hess, and it actually holds up pretty well if you like that kind of music. But they also did it with My Bloody Valentine.
A legend began, every woman and man would always
Sleepaway Camp.
When I look into your eyes.
Even Friday the 13th had Sail Away, Tiny Sparrow.
Sail away, tiny sparrow.
Wait a minute, why is a sparrow sailing? Maybe I missed the point of that song. Anyway, I think we should bring these back. I'm going to do a little campfire rendition right now. Tell me what you think.
He's real.
Lore of the campfire, telling of his horror, lost in the woods with the madman and the stars. Don't laugh at the tale, heed if you call him. The legend lives, beware the Madman Marz. The legend lives, beware the Madman Marz. Maybe Joe Bob did it better.
Lore of the campfire, telling of his horror, lost in the woods with the madman.
Smells like this.
According to the filmmakers, for his hanging scene, Tony Fish wanted it to look authentic, so he wrapped a rubber band around his neck to cut off oxygen to his head and turn himself blue. I don't know if that's true, but the scene is actually pretty effective, so way to commit to the bit, Tony. Also, do not try that at home, kids. By the way, here's a good frame to point out that Madman Marz actor Paul Ehlers is wearing prosthetic feet in the movie. Apparently, the 6'5" actor has diminutive ballerina feet, as he calls them, so fake feet were applied so that they didn't look ridiculous. They still kind of look ridiculous. Stefan Horlich was tasked with creating the score, sometimes with input from Gary Sales. Later, Horlich went on to win an award for writing the theme song to Reading Rainbow. No shit.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high.
Oh, should I cover that one too? No, just kidding. In the years following the movie's release, the film kind of faded into obscurity for a bit. And many of the participants in the film's making had moved on. But, of course, like anything else, there's a group that kept it alive, and new, younger people discovering it every day. The movie now has cult status, and there's definitely a small but ardent group of fans out there who will say this is their favorite 80s slasher. For me, it's just kind of a footnote in the history of horror movies. But it's a fun watch, and there's definitely some creativity and ambition behind this one. If you haven't seen it, and especially if you're a slasher completist, check it out. Anyway, check back soon. I got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I think you guys will dig it. Dread Diver out.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, we're reading Rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know, and ways to grow, reading Rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, reading